and welcome to the Real Talk podcast. I'm Barbara Layton, and I'm here with my dear friend, comrade, and all kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Jim Vrettos.
Jim
We've known
Vrettos.
each other a really long time.
Mhm.
So it's a pleasure to be here with you, Jim. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Barbara Layton, as I said. I'm a resident of East Hampton. I've lived here for 30 years. And I think many of you probably know me from Babettes, which I owned on Newtown Lane for 27 years. And it was an amazing time. It was not only a restaurant that served good food, but it was a restaurant where the community came together, where we connected, where we exchanged ideas, where we held political fundraisers, and really just encouraged engagement across the board. It was an amazing time. Currently, I'm the president of the East Hampton Chamber of Commerce, the Greater East Hampton Chamber of Commerce, which will include East Hampton, Wainscott, Springs, and Amagansett. So we are really so excited about doing this. I'm working with amazing people. Mayor Jerry Larson and his team have been just phenomenal in really igniting the fire under us to start this and do this. So many thanks goes out to him and his team. I think we all realized that and had the yearning, I believe, that how connection is so critical at this moment in time, especially since COVID, and working together, which I believe is so important. Working together makes us all stronger, and that was really one of the main objectives of creating the East Hampton Chamber of Commerce. The idea and passion for the Real Talk podcast is for us in this community to really get to know one another. We're a community of phenomenal, talented, inspirational, mindful people, but we really don't know each other on a more deeper level. And with this podcast, what Jim and I want to do is we want to just dig a little deeper with conversations, really stretch a little bit, and with the realization that at the end of the day, there's really not that much that separates us, that we have more in common than not. We all know, we've all experienced walking down the street and meeting a friend or an acquaintance, and the conversation goes something like this: "Oh, hi, how are you? Haven't seen you in a long time. Oh, yeah, how's everything? Oh, good, and how are you? Oh, yeah, really, really good." And then the conversation starts and stops there
That's it.
until the next time we meet, and the conversation begins again. So we want to do something different on Real Talk. We want to dig deep, and we want to change the conversation just a little bit. So I'm happy to be here, and
I'm so
I get to do
excited.
this with Jim.
Yes, I'm so excited and blessed to do this show with you as well. We've known each other a long time. For the audience who probably doesn't know me that well, knows you much better, but my name's Jim Vrettos. I'm a sociologist who taught for over 25 years at John Jay College of Criminal Justice and Yeshiva University in New York City. But I also have been out here in beautiful East Hampton since 1987. So this is my home as well. I deeply love it, and I'm so excited to share this experience with you and all the wonderful people we're going to have on. And I also just host a show called The Radical Imagination, which is also on LTV. So, but this is something different, and I look forward very much for us to bring that sense of community that's so needed, and to really get deeper and get to know each other again.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a phenomenal life force of a first guest. And many of you, I'm sure, know her, the amazing Kate Mueth. Many of you know that Kate is the founder and artistic director of the award-winning neo-political Cowgirls, which began in 2007. It is a not-for-profit theater collective dedicated to utilizing the arts to build community, which is what we want to do here, world vision, and creating exciting experiences for a shared sense of belonging. Creating a space where artists, students, and audiences from all walks in life can share their perspectives and stories through professional performances, workshops, and advocacy forums. Quote, "Storytellers at heart, we want our audience to feel involved, connecting through active conversation, the arts, and community activism. We believe in breaking down conventional walls that traditionally separate audience and acting." And if that's not enough, Kate and the Neo-Political Cowgirls have launched, I think it's 3, 4, 5, I don't know, 6, 10 free food pantries across the East End, which are open every single day.
Terrific, terrific.
So
Let's have her on. Kate.
she is the
Cheers,
one
cheers.
and only.
Coming off the wings
The
here.
one and only.
Hi, Kate. Hello, hi. So wonderful to have you on. Terrific.
Radical, what was it? A radical
The radical imagination. You're into that, right?
I
This
was
is
so into that.
there we go.
I want to learn more from you.
Well, today is your day. I want to learn more from you, right?
Well, we're going to learn from one
each
another.
other,
And
right.
before we get into those deep, intimate conversations, tell us all what you are up to right now and what you are thinking in that big, beautiful brain and heart of yours.
It's just gonna be like a volcano, and you're just
Please.
like vomiting into the center. Well, we just closed The Dreamer, which is our the Neopolitical Cowgirls devised attack on A Midsummer Night's Dream by Shakespeare. That was here
It was
actually
amazing.
in its 4th iteration. So it's been off Broadway. It's been at Longhouse. It was at Mulford Farm in its very early first iteration. So we just finished that. We are looking at, just putting out our feelers about finding a way to take that to Berlin or somewhere else in the world. And now what we're working on is Illuminated Longhouse. The good folks, Carrie and Jason at Longhouse, have invited us to bring our annual production of Zima to Longhouse to kind of meld it with their illuminated walks. So while it would be a slightly different thing than our Zima usually is, won't have the riddle aspect of it, but it will have, these dynamic creatures and mythological characters stowed away on the pathways of illuminated light. So we've got that coming up 3 weekends, the first 3 weekends in December. Working, as I go through my life, I'm always like, every day is a fundraiser, because it is. And this is like rainbow, right? Every day. That's like I'm trying to remember that it's a good thing. It's okay. We don't have to feel bad about every day having to fundraise for the arts. But so working.
It's a shame we do have to, but
Yeah.
we do. Yes.
So, and on that note, we did get a federal grant, our first ever federal grant from the NEA for the Dreamer, which is no small feat. And we were on this list of like amazing, very serious Shakespeare companies across the country. So working on being more integrated to our schools, because we do have schools programs, but with this Shakespeare, we had 4 school shows and a 4-hour-long workshop along with general audience performances. Leading me to this long-winded example of just how much the arts are needed, not only for our youth, because it's a cheapening of actually the importance of the arts to just say, oh, it's good for kids, but I don't have to go.
Shakespeare wanted that. You're right.
He's very egalitarian. Yeah,
absolutely. You're carrying on that tradition in a sense, aren't you?
Thank you.
What would life be without?
Well, we'd be focusing on, we'd be seeing war and destruction and just, the final, falling apart of, our patriarchal systems, which I guess, we have to pay attention to as well. But God, if that's all we could look at, that would really be heartbreaking.
We desperately need these alternative narratives.
Yeah.
And through music and art, it's one of the best ways to
You
do
know,
this.
we as Americans, I
Yeah.
think, so like when we have gone to, we've been to Berlin and Helsinki with work, there's a way that they approach it as a society, that arts are integral and they're curious, and it's like a vitamin that they look for and they really want it and they're curious about it, and they don't make excuses about why I can't be there. They literally will be like going home from their way to work, from their way home from work, and see that, oh, there's this show. I don't know anything about it, but it looks fascinating. I'm gonna buy a ticket and I'm gonna come in. I mean, like that was happening all the time. And then afterwards we started having, I call them the Berliner talks, because audience would stay afterwards with our actors. We would just sit around, we'd go get a bottle of tequila or something and pass it around, and they just wanted to talk about what they saw.
And this is sorry, Jim.
No, go
This is the stuff that gives us the inspiration and the wisdom to make the larger decisions and how we really want and need to live in the world at this present time.
Right.
So how did you get inspired? I'm thinking as you were talking about the living theater, which you probably know about and
Yes,
also about.
absolutely.
So what drives you? What got you into this?
I need to survive. And I don't say that flippantly or dramatically.
Ready to go
Yeah.
crazy?
When you say survive,
Yeah.
Kate, you
I mean
mean
literally live.
But
Yeah.
you mean inside and outside, because that is
Both,
that,
yeah.
that is who you are. That
Yeah.
is your life force. That's what you bring to all of us.
It was internal and external. I grew up in the Midwest in a very small town, cornfields everywhere.
Where?
A place called Dakota, Illinois. 500 people on the border with Wisconsin. And it's quite, the topography is beautiful, but it's literally oceans of corn. Oceans. The last time I went back, which was years and years ago, it was sort of like an awakening of like, it's almost like I hadn't seen it. It seemed just how much, I'm like, wow, I couldn't breathe. It was so overwhelming, the fields and fields and fields of corn. Like how one growing up there finds themselves, like literally, I mean, like, who am I and where is my place in this planet? Especially coming from a very, love, yes, in my family, but a lot of emotional neglect and a lot of religiosity, and a lot of things that, family trauma through many lineages that, hopefully we are working on for ourselves and for our children. But yes, so it really came down to how to survive internally, which if one is not surviving internally, you're not going to survive externally for the most part, unless you find that buoy to hang on to, and the art's for that.
You felt that at an early age?
Very young, yeah.
Yeah, like 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, yeah.
In the cornfields there as you went.
Yeah, I think I can say wholeheartedly by the age of 10, I was deeply depressed.
Really?
Yeah, I was a deeply depressed child. You maybe wouldn't know it in my day-to-day, but behind those closed doors of crying for, quote, no reason, not knowing why, I was in my room, like just not knowing, and there was no help. There was no help for that suffering. So knowing that,
And so that, Kate, that's beautiful, and that just segues into one of the deeper questions that we had for you, just about, growing up with, say, fear or insecurity. And we've all had that in one form or another. And can you talk a little bit about what that might have looked like for you?
fear and insecurity.
And insecurity.
Yeah.
Growing, just growing up and
Yeah.
and facing that, and how did you get through it?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So I didn't have fear when I was born. It was taught to me. Right. I had a very my father was German father. I mean, born in the States, but barely, to German parents, um, and he was a product of his own broken family. 14 children in a 2-bedroom farmhouse on a dairy farm, and he was told to go into the seminary. He said, "You're going into the seminary at the age of like 7th grade, all the way through college." So I wasn't born into fear. I had fear taught to me or instilled in me because I was a very like one of those free spirits that and I know I was probably a very hard project for my parents. They didn't.
Because they weren't. Your
They
father
weren't.
doesn't sound like he's
No, he barely spoke,
really
except if he was to criticize or to be punitive.
harsh,
Harsh.
strict.
Yeah, harsh and strict. I was afraid of my father growing up. I was the youngest of 5. My siblings would probably have a different story, but their trauma manifestation is different than mine, and so it was. I couldn't be controlled. I was very emotive and very joyous, but like any emotion that was too big was crushed, and so I learned fear, to be afraid, and self-doubt, because clearly my authority figures who I loved were telling me something was wrong with me, with my natural impulses. So something must be wrong with me.
Yeah.
And that transpired. I was in ballet. I was even in the cornfields. There were occasional things that you could do, like study ballet. And I mean,
In schools, was there a teacher? Or something?
not in my school, but a lot of it was sports and things like that. But a dance teacher, like a Nijinsky trained dance teacher, moved out from Chicago. He was a foster parent to like street kids, getting them off the
Wow.
street into ballet classes, and he wanted to get them out of the city, so he brought them to like this next town over and taught dance. And so it was like I got actual dance training, but also I got an eating disorder. So because you're 14 years old and being called my little herd of cows. So that's how it manifested, because that's also a father wound
So anorexic.
thing.
I mean,
It started with anorexia, like deeply controlled eating. That another dancer taught me. She goes, "You don't have to starve yourself. You can do this instead." And we used to like have binge parties, and so and that almost killed me, and it was very serious, and I was very sick with that. And I had graduated high school. My father said he wouldn't pay for college if I was going to study the arts. So I, just ran off because that was what I did. And
I was gonna say, when was it that you got the hell out?
I was 18, yeah, and
18.
I went down
Where'd
to,
you go?
strangely, Dallas. I had a sister there who was working there, and we were very close. And I went there because my dance teacher said, "Oh, there's a Russian ballet teacher you must study with," and so I studied with her, and I was at the Dallas Ballet. But over the course of like the 8 months I got very, very sick, and so I came back, and my mother, God bless her, got me. I saw an audition for like the summer stock at the local junior college, and they actually had a really great theater program. And I auditioned, I got cast in everything, and so I started to get a little buoy there. And I was still sick for a few years, but being with people in the theater, being able to be seen in a different way, and be able to use my voice and speak and have some value, be valued for, they said free ride for you if you'll just choreograph every show that we do. I'm like, absolutely. And so, it's like a bud opening and
Yeah. And they, I mean, and it's through the arts that they empowered you to really emerge.
Yeah.
And do what you needed to do, and really just wake up that and let loose that life force that you had inside of you, and support it.
They say, right, there's this quote that shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. And and I think about that a lot, which is a lot of the reason why we do a bit of the work that we do outreach wise, is because it doesn't matter whether it's film, whether it's dance, whether it's theater, writing, music, whatever it is. when people tell their story through these other ways, it's like if you and I were digging in on an issue and I hated you and you hated me, if we got together and we were told, okay, look at this. What do you see? Tell me about it. Tell me. And we start talking about that. Suddenly we're talking in conversation about something outside ourselves and we start to find that common ground
We're connecting.
where we're connecting.
We are connecting to what's real and really what matters at the end of a day.
And that's what art does.
And
That's
it's-
exactly right.
Yeah, is that what you're finding as you perform, particularly around the Hamptons here? You find the
Yeah.
great need, the opening up of the audience to you, and likewise back and
I
forth.
think so. I think so. I mean, there's a couple of very large dilemmas, and that is people just not going to the theater. And I have a continual frustration, which I just have to let go of because it's not worthy of my frustration. But
Kate,
I'm
why do you
frustrated.
think that is?
Well, there's people can say, oh, there's a lot of reasons. They're very busy. They're this, but I mean, people who have literally funded us, people. Who just can't even be bothered to come see the show that they're funding. More is required of us as people in the world. We have a million excuses. We have so many excuses and not enough risk taking or pushing beyond our discomfort. Like, oh, I have to get off the sofa and I have to actually put clothes on and go dress and go.
But Kate, do you
Right?
find that more so since COVID?
Absolutely.
More so since
Absolutely.
COVID.
Right.
And I think we've gotten soft in our brains.
Right.
And I think this is also why people, politically or otherwise, are digging in and we're becoming so black and white and not having conversations anymore.
That's right.
Because we're lazy. We've gotten really soft and lazy.
And we're afraid. There is a fear factor
Yep.
within ourselves with what's going on in the world. And I've noticed,
Yep,
and Jim, I'm
absolutely.
sure you have, that
Yep.
since COVID, people have really withdrawn.
Retreated.
And a lot of people just stay home right now. They don't go out.
And they're lonely, they're depressed,
Yes,
there's more
exactly.
drinking, there's more all kinds of stuff.
So and these conversations that we're having right this
Yeah.
second, these are the conversations that make us strong, that give us courage, that inspire us to do the unimaginable, to change the world, to create a new story, because the old story right now is
Mm-hmm.
it's crumbling and it's fading. And we need one another right now to inspire each other to really create that new story that's just right here in front of us.
It's energy. And energy is not in our devices. It's not as we're
Right.
sitting on our watching screens all the time. And hello to everybody watching on the screen, which is but what are we taking away from the conversations? I saw a really great thing the other day. It was like an architect posting on something on social media, and it was a house, of course, and there's just a door, and someone made a comment that was brilliant, and it said, they never build porches anymore because people aren't sitting around in conversation watching their neighbors go by and calling out to their neighbor. They're on devices, and I'm like, oh, we have to do a theater piece about this, about porches. Bring back the porches.
And how about
Right?
stoops?
Stoops.
I mean, I grew
Oh,
up.
you grew up in the
Well,
city.
that's the city.
I grew up in a housing project in Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and we all had stoops,
You'd sit on them.
and we sat on the
talk.
stoops, and
Absolutely.
we played on the street,
And the music and the food and the share and
from the
everybody knew
windows.
each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
kids,
Where did you grow up?
I'm a New York City kid.
Yeah.
And we spent time in Denver,
thing then.
we're back.
We miss it.
Yeah, miss it a lot. Well, I go back and forth. I love the city. I love it here, but we've got to get. Shakespeare would have wanted this. He wanted people. Come on now, get off your duffs and come to our wonderful theater. And again, I go back to that's what you're doing. You're getting people out there. And
Well, if they come, right? I mean, if they come, but this is also why, this particular week that we did a couple weeks ago through the NEA grant, it was a very intense week of being in the schools, being here for the evening performances, and it was really intense. And yet I came out going, no, we need we need more of this because, and this is no slight to arts teachers right now, but it is a concern about generally speaking how the arts are treated in schools and in our society, where it's a pat on the head, it's an activity that you do, but I one of my teaching artist leadership and arts training was from the Lincoln Center, and some of the things that we talk about is it's got to be an engagement with the arts. How are kids taking in what they're consuming artistically and then talking about it and seeing its relevance and its reflection back in our society and using it as conversation igniters, right? So if we're not teaching, if we're just saying, hey, paint this,
It's not just an assignment here.
it's not an assignment.
Well, because everything, especially in our educational system, is geared to separation. You take English over here, you take your Spanish class here, you take literature over here, whereby everything needs to feed the whole.
Well, there's a thread through all of it.
There's a thread through all of it, and unfortunately, that thread doesn't get woven.
And not only that, the first thing they cut, of course, is music and
Oh,
art.
of course,
So that's
of course.
we've got only a couple minutes.
Yeah, I
more
want to get
go.
to Kate.
God, it's going too fast.
I know.
It's too
Want more of
fast.
these?
Stop the clock.
What's a perception you might think people have about you
Yeah.
that you'd like to set straight?
Maybe there's some truth to it. I will say
That's okay.
The perception might be highly political, which I am, but it's really just being rooted in humanness and how can we make the world a safer, better, more thriving place for every human, not just some. And it shouldn't be money driven. It should be a safe place for everyone. So I think again, it just goes back to how we're viewing politics, I think, these days. And so being a bleeding heart liberal, I'll own that. But I guess what I'd want corrected about that or investigated about that is why. What's the hopeful outcome to being a bleeding heart liberal?
And what is that? What is the hopeful outcome for you?
Well, just a fair, equitable, accessible world of safety for all, for everybody.
Right. The basics. A roof over our heads.
Healthcare,
Healthcare.
education.
A job that we're passionate about, food on the table, education for our kids, basic.
Yeah.
Just really
We're
basic.
not all that different.
We're not all
That's
that
the
different,
point.
exactly.
Yeah.
For us and for the audience, just give us one idea of just one small daily habit or routine that keeps you grounded and empowered.
Gratitude.
Beautiful.
I wake up every morning and I call out the things I'm grateful for.
Beautiful.
It's that simple. Because I always cite this study that was done by these brain scientists, like 100 of them, a few years ago. And they did all these CAT scans of the colors of the brain that they're studying when people were thinking positive thoughts and versus negative. And they hands down, all of them said, look, if human beings understood the power of your brain, you'd never waste it on another negative thought again. And that doesn't mean, Pollyanna and untethered from reality. It means, no, for me, that's like gratitude.
And there are many scientific studies going on right now that prove that point right now, the power of intention, gratitude, all of that. So,
And we're in such gratitude to have you here for our very first guest.
Thank you.
It's just a blessing. Thank you so much.
You.
This
I
is-
am so honored.
this is what real, authentic conversations look like and feel like.
And just to start, we could have gone on for hours, but I
Totally.
think we're out of time, right?
And I'm really glad both of you are doing this, and I can't
you.
wait to see all the other guests you have on. I am really honored to be here. So
Thank you so much. Thank you for being our very first. It's important.
I really am honored and I'm grateful, and it's lovely to be here. So
Thank you.
And thank you everyone watching.
Absolutely.
Till next time,
Till next time.
stay real.
Stay real.